at Houghton. It's great to be back and get to know some of you and get to take this walk down memory lane. I thought I'm a little bit, tuckered out in terms of all the different topics I've talked about today, so bear with me if I repeat myself on some of it, but I thought I would begin by sort of talking about my career and the odd ways that it has gone and unanticipated ways that the Lord has led me, and then talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned in my career that might help you in your career, things that would that don't necessarily apply to law but can apply to business or life more generally, and then talk a little bit about how I try to balance my career and my family life. So here goes. I came to Houghton in 1978 as a pre-nursing student. I actually told my father I liked art and writing and wanted to write and illustrate children's books, and he said, well, that's very nice, Cathy, but you might want to go into something practical and then pick up those art and writing courses. I guess he didn't like my artistic and writing ability as much as I did. But anyway, so I looked around, and we were in a recession in the late 70s then, and I thought, one of the few areas you could get a job was in the medical field and nursing, and you could pretty much get a job anywhere in the country. You didn't have to live in a particular area or in the city or that sort of thing. And even, if I didn't pursue the nursing career, I thought it would be always, a helpful area to have in raising children, which has proved to be fairly true. So I decided to pursue nursing. Now, I had narrowed down my college search before I kind of decided what area I wanted to pursue, and so I had looked at conservative Christian colleges and had done some research and had Houghton and Wheaton at the top of my list. So I contacted Wheaton, where my two older brothers were, and they said, well, we don't really have nursing. And so I moved on and talked to Houghton, and they said, we have pre-nursing. And actually, a lot of our pre-nursing students go to some of the top nursing schools in the country, Columbia, Penn, that sort of thing. And I thought, that actually would work out well. I would get a taste of, or get a transition out of the small town that I grew up in, Mount Shasta, California, which is about 2,000 population, into another small town, get a safe environment where I could get grounded in some in some studies about my faith a little bit, as well as, get a terrific, and my father, of course, signed me up for all the pre-med kinds of sciences in case I just changed my mind and pursued his field of practice. And so I came to Houghton in 1978, met my husband. He's a class of 1980 grad. He's a business major with a political science and economics background, or minor, and he was pre-law at the time. And so, like I told you in chapel, we fell in love and everything. So he graduated in 80, and I transferred to Columbia University to finish my nursing degree in 80. And so it's been 30 years since I was last at a Houghton chapel, and it's been actually quite a while since we were actually on campus too, but it's been great to get back. So I ended up getting my nursing degree, and after I graduated, Rob and I were married that summer. We took the nursing exams. Rob had applied to law school, and so we moved to Vermont, where he was in law school, and I put him through as a nurse at a VA hospital working on a surgical floor. And a lot of legal type issues would come up on that surgical floor. For example, some of the nurses were saying, when we sign these written consents, what are we signing? Are we signing that this patient was alive when they purportedly signed this thing? Did they, were they lucid? Did they, were the facts in the consent itself actually explained to them? Are we attesting to that? What are we attesting to? Can you find out your husband's in law school? Like that, meant he knew everything about the law. So I, asked him beats me. And so I started going to these seminars given by nurse attorneys, and I thought, this is sort of interesting. And so I took the LSATs thinking I might go into health law, and I did well on those and applied to law schools and ended up going to George Washington Law School in D.C. And my first year in law school, I worked at a med mal practice firm, and as a part-time job on the side. And they sat me in this room and stuck stacks of medical records in front of me and told me to try and find pre-existing injuries. And I just, it didn't feel, one, like the practice of law, and it felt like a perversion of my nursing license. And I decided that was not the area for me. And after second year in law school, they have these things called summer associate positions with law firms, where they sort of get to know you and you get to know them, and most major law firms sort of recruit or hire their new attorneys from their summer associate programs. And so I got a summer associate position with Skadden Arps, which is like a 2,000 lawyer firm, international. Their offices all over the U.S. and pretty much the world now. And they were a big mergers and acquisitions corporate firm, and so thought I'd try that out. And they had a Wilmington, Delaware office as well. So I summered in their D.C. office and received an offer for permanent employment at the end of the summer for when I graduated. And I said, I really love the D.C. office, but my husband's from Delaware, and they're doing all this cool M&A litigation in Delaware, and I'd like to try spending next summer there before I start my clerkship on the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals. And they said, sure, we can arrange that. So I went to Delaware and tried that, and I really liked that practice. In D.C., I had done a lot of the administrative kind of law, which is some antitrust law and energy law, and these were humongous litigations. And as a junior person, you're sort of relegated to sitting in a big conference room, going through piles of documents, trying to find out what's privileged and what isn't, and just really dry, sort of boring work. And then the summer I spent in Delaware, I was working on some really interesting, fast-paced cases and had a real role in those, and I really liked that. And it was also great to be near Rob's family, because we knew we wanted to have a family of our own and wanted to have that support. And so I summered in the Delaware office after third year, and then started my clerkship. And nothing went as planned that year.